time on Custom Works, it's the 100th episode! So this time, it's the 100th episode. Over the last 18 months, I can't believe it, but we have done all of this 100 times. And we're going to take a quick look back over the last 18 months and some of the highlights thereof in. And then we're going to have an update on the Meat Wagon, which is really coming along. So then, right now, let's get to the workshop. So let's get to the workshop. Let's get to the workshop. This time on Custom Works, we are at the Peterborough Show, Hot Rod Nationals and Modified Nationals. Let's take a look around, let's see what's at the show, and then maybe we'll get to the workshop. Let's get to the workshop. Let's get to the workshop now. And today, we're looking at this. This is my 1958 Standard Ensign. Let's take it out for a drive. Okay then, so driving the Standard Ensign Custom, here we go, going round a roundabout. I really do think, I think I've solved the suspension problem. It was always really bad. Not solved this headliner problem. Headliner keeps falling down onto my head, but you know, I did buy heat resistant glue to glue this up, but it's this is terrible. What's it going to be called? It's going to be called the F1. I'm going to mock up the lower part of the F1. So we're talking like the front fender round into the top of the grille. I'm going to get all that in place and then form the bonnet. I've got sort of some of the front. You can see where the front wing's going to be. With the polystyrene, like this is going to sound like a joke, but we're just trying to get the rough shape, and good God, this is a rough shape. Hey, remember when I thought this was all going to be really easy and like a nice quick turnaround and an easy job back when we first got the car? So on this car, I cannot tell you how difficult it's been and how much more work than I thought and the owner thought that this was going to be. We have literally had to go through every single thing on this car. Like I say, it's been really difficult. So let this be a lesson learned when browsing for an unfinished project, that sometimes all is not what it seems. Okay then, so the MOT. Last week we said we were taking the car for an MOT, and we took it for an MOT and it failed. But not that bad. So what did the car fail on? The car failed on the fact that, one, I'd not put a front number plate on it. You know, the law needs to come round to my way of thinking. No one needs a front number plate. Cars look better without them. It's been, what, 3 months of work to get this done, from a taxi to the finished car, and I'm pretty pleased, you know. Looks the real deal. So what are we going to do to this taxi? What we're going to do, a little bit like last time, we're going to put the F100 front on this taxi. and it's going to have the cab as well, and you're thinking, well, you've already done that. Well, I've not done this. We're going to make it into like a Luton style, you know, like an Airstream caravan. It's going to be like an Airstream caravan on the back, and it's going to be high, it's going to come all the way back. We're going to extend the chassis back to here. It's going to be huge. All of this is going to look like an Airstream caravan. Everything on the front is going to look like the WTF 100, except we're going to have like some rust and patina up there, and all the back of this is going to look like polished aluminium. It's going to have a cool Art Deco rear. In fact, you know what? It's going to look like this. This time on Custom Works Extra, the cooking drawer is finished. Yes! Okay then, so here we go. The drawer is done. Now, never before seen anywhere, it's me, Paul Bacon, doing some cooking. Like, if I'm going to cook you a meal, that meal is going to start with a phone call to a place around the corner. Certainly not with a saucepan or ingredients. Okay then, we're looking at a new taxi for a forthcoming project. Yes, it's a different shape. Yes, it's a little bit newer, but it's the right price. And it's close to where I live as well, so, and it's got some MOT, so I can legally drive it home. So this is looking good. I'm going to discuss the price, and then hopefully we will be the owners of this beautiful taxi. Okay then, so this morning, perfect running driving taxi that really was nice, really drove really smooth, everything was nice. I've ruined it essentially, just ruined it. There we go, just the bare chassis. Got to get the engine and box out now, but once that's gone, bare chassis, ready for the project that is coming. Why don't we do some asymmetric stuff, just like they did back in the 60s? And this is something I've wanted to do just forever, because that asymmetric 60s style, there is no more middle finger up to normal cars than an asymmetric car. It's just mind-blowing. Okay then. Let's take a look at the Meat Wagon. And this week I had like an epiphany moment, and I've always had this problem of where the fuel tank's going to go, and I've kept it up front for the whole time. But this week I actually had an idea that was good, and I thought that's what I'm going to do. So let's take a look at that. And also a massive problem with the interior that all week I've sort of wrestled with. I couldn't get it right, but I fixed it with a beach ball. Right, so another problem with the Meat Wagon is I've never really known where I'm going to put the fuel tank. As we've moved it around the workshop and everything, I've always had a fuel cell in here. And a fuel cell fits in here just about right. Although it does block the radiator a bit, and also I don't know if having the fuel tank right at the front of the vehicle is all that safe. So I've been thinking for a while, where can I put it? But of course, there's a lot got to go into this. You know, we've got cooking equipment, gas bottles, fresh water, wastewater, a huge amount of, you know, a massive battery to make all of this work. So I was looking around the other day, and I realised that between the bulkhead, between the kitcheny bit and the cab, as this seat sort of sloped like that, I might have a bit of room behind there. So I started to investigate. And first looking at the tank and then looking at the space, this is what I found. So then, the standard taxi fuel tank, which is stood up against the workshop, waiting to have the diesel drained out of it and taken to the tip. Thankfully I didn't do that. I was looking at it and there's no way this will fit, but then I thought, what about if we stand it on edge, sort of this way round? Fuel will go in, fill up, yeah, it'll fill up the tube a bit, but we'll have the proper tubing and that. And then the feeds come straight out the bottom. And then I started looking at that void I was on about. So then, I thought, what sort of room have I got in here, and where would, you know, like the fuel pipe come out, and how's it all going to work? So I looked under here. This is behind the seats, but before the bulkhead. Bulkhead's here, and then the seats are there. And I thought maybe if this goes in right, I can get my feed up there. So I fitted the tank, and it fits like this. Here's the tank. There's the filler. Of course, these are the pipes that go out, the flow and return for the injectors. And this fits in there. Now all I've got at the minute is this wood screw holding it in. But as far as I'm concerned, that is pretty good. Inside here, there's a lot of stuff on the floor, but it doesn't really encroach on the space in here, and you just wouldn't know in the front because the seat's there. But how are we going to connect this to fill it? Alright, and so this is a bit hard to see, but that there, I'm pointing with the torch, so there, that is an aerosol lid taped over the inlet to the diesel tank. Now, obviously I've got this bar in the way that holds the bottom of those Rolls-Royce seats. In here, there's a lot of structure and stuff that keeps the flimsy taxi body rigid. So, I've got to get from there up to about here. I'm not too sure I'm going to do that, but that is how the fuel tank is going to fit. So hopefully I'll have the petrol flap about just here. Don't want to go into any of this, it's too curved. This is nice and flat. It's pretty much single skin there, and hopefully I'll get the pipe down there. Now, I have ordered a variety of flexible pipes and turns to get down to that. So once they're here, what I'll do is I'll fit all that together and we'll see if we can make it work. Because if we do make it work, it's going to be, oh my God, it saves so much space, and it really is. It really frees us up to move a few more things around. Fine, so Meat Wagon's going to need a fuel filler. So I've cut this hole. We can now get in and down to that fuel tank. And for a petrol flap, I bought this off of eBay. Well, it just does all that stuff. It's got the flaps, got the hinge, it holds open, then it's got the rubber bit so no diesel goes inside. It's all here, and this was really cheap. It's got a bit of curve to it, but and that just sort of looks like it's a bit dented. But I'll fit it in here. So first I used really big hole saw, and then went round inside the hole with the edge of the grinder there, and just kept, you know, sanding and marking until this fitted. And now it fits really nicely. I'll glue it in place and fiberglass it from the back, just around this edge, so it's nice and secure. Because there's no real fixings with this, but hey, that's hot rodding. You buy a bit from one car and you try and put it on another car. There's never any fixings, there's never any instructions, and chances are no one's ever done it. So I'll do this, glass it in, and then yeah, it should all be good. And we have now got fuel flap. The fuel flap is now pretty much finished. Things we had to do on the fuel flap. So first off, I had to get like the locking bit on the end of the fuel cap, which is in here. I welded this onto the end of the factory filler neck, and then I welded another piece of steel at a slight angle, and on that I managed to get some, and the stuff's great, it's like a flexible sort of diesel inlet hose. Got that clamped on there, and now that hangs down near the fuel tank. Not actually connected it to the fuel tank, you know what I mean, one job at a time. But yeah, that went in, and this sat in here perfectly. I've put some sealant around it, just because the rubber did have a little bit of a gap, so I'm pulling that at quite a funny angle. But this has worked out really neat, really tidy and really nice. I added this wing nut bolt as a little handle because it was hard to open, and this thing just to keep it shut on the road. I made this ring. I just cut that out of some dye bond, and then ground it up and then riveted on. And when all this is covered in that lovely matte sheen, it's going to look great. Now, to make that cap work, because it's mounted to a flexible pipe on the back, I had to make a bracket that came off and then attached in, just so that all of this inside here is nice and stiff, and this isn't just flopping about on the end of a piece of flexible pipe. And that looks like this. So this bracket fixed to the bit that the filling hose would go in the petrol station, and just make sure everything feels solid, because if it was just on the end of a piece of flexible tube, it'd all be a bit floppy and not very car-like. So the fuel filler is now done, and all we've got to do now is just put a breather in there and hook it up to the tank. But the tank needs some modification first, and all that really soon on Custom Works. Okay then, so now let's see how a beach ball can save the day. Okay then, so we're in the back of the Meat Wagon, and this has been painstaking. I've started to cover all the insulation in this 4mm ply now. Really has made things so solid, so nice, so strong. Everything's nice and warm now. It holds the heat when the heat is on in it. It heats up in a second. It really has made a difference. However, certain bits like this curve in the corner, I have very little idea what I'm doing here. It's just a nightmare. It's such a complex shape to make this bit work, and then this bit, and then this curve here as well. And I've simplified the shape as much as I can, but these bits really are causing quite a bit of trouble. But I think I'll get there. Yeah, enough foam, glue and arsing about, and it should all come good, shouldn't it? I hope. If it's not dead right, when I come to put the stainless steel on, which only bends in like one way, I'm never going to be able to do this. I thought I'd get it like, you know, the cuts in an orange or something, and it just fit together. That's not working out. So what I'm thinking is, in fiberglass, I can make a panel that fits in here, and then all the rest of it's flat, and I'll paint this panel to look like stainless steel. Happy days. But I need to make this curve. So I was thinking, what's big and curvy and round? And I thought, beach ball. Oh yes. And as we will hold this up, it fits really nicely into that corner. So what I'm thinking, first off, I'm going to cover this in masking tape, and then I'm going to lay probably just one layer of fiberglass over it, and then I'll let that dry, and then I'll see if it fits in there. This looks rubbish, you know. This doesn't work. I will have to have another think. But the inside of this van is very, very difficult to make everything right and to make everything curve, and just to be ready for that super thin, super cool stainless steel to go over it, all of it. But like I say, the stainless only bends one way, so compound curves, absolute no-no. Let's get some tape on this. Let's get some fiberglass on this, and then let's see if this is a better idea. beach ball in masking tape, and I put this piece of wire behind it just so it doesn't keep moving. So now what I'm going to do, put some fiberglass over this, see if I can get some shape to it. So I covered the beach ball in masking tape, now I went over it in, it's sort of almost 2 layers of fiberglass, and feeling pretty good today. So now I'm going to rip this off and then we'll offer it up, see what we got. Okay, so I reckon it's about there, and I need to cut just there. So I marked it up, I shall cut this, and then we'll try it back in, and hopefully once it's cut away from the main bit, it'll have sort of enough flexibility for us to get it in there. And also, I'm going to hack this bit out. Now we've got that absolute rubbish out of the way, let's see if this fits any better. That fits in there nicely. So then what I'll do now is trim this a little bit more. I shall mask around it, and then I'll fiberglass in a strip here to make a flange that steps between this and this. Now I'm not bothered about it fitting perfectly, because that will probably need sealant round it when it goes on over the stainless steel, because obviously as the stainless steel gets stuck to this, there might be a tiny void, this might be a slightly different shape. So I'll make it all nice and thin, I'll make it so that it's still flexible to the shape and can still fit in. But you know what, for a double compound curve, that has come out pretty easy, and this has worked pretty well. So bit of trimming, some flanges, and then I think we're about there. Right, and so this fits in a beautiful, look at that, it's literally just what I want. So now I'm going to glass around it, so I make a nice straight flange there. I put this piece of Foamex or something in there, and I will go over that. And then I'll go up here and make it so there's a nice flange that will fit to this and into here, and then this will be like one unit that just pops in and covers that part once the stainless is on, and this will be painted to look like the stainless, so that will drop in there and it will be beautiful, better than all that old crap that I'd sort of glued on earlier, which was a terrible job. And the best thing here is this technique will also work on this side, so it's like a double win. And of course all of this will still be super hygienically clean as well. Like, we're talking operating theatre. You'd probably get an appendix out in the back of it. I'm just saying that, you know, if ever you're at a show, this is about, there's going to be a hygienic place for you to do that operation. Right, so this corner, I put the fiberglass on, I've resined it up, we're waiting for it to dry. So in a bit we should be able to pop this off, and it should just fit on, come off, fit off, come on, and then I can bodywork all of this on the bench, make it nice. I'm not in here like standing like that. But yeah, it'll all be good. So just wait till it's dry. Okay then, so that's it for this week, the 100th episode. And that's it for this series. Series 2 starts next week, but Series 1, 100 episodes long. Series 2, another 100 episodes long. And what I want to do is rail against this thing of that British TV only has short seasons and say American TV has a longer season. Well, I'm bucking that trend. I'm going for 100 episodes in season 1, 100 episodes in season 2. If we ever get to season 3, I might make that 125 episodes long. How do you like them apples? Well, anyway, that's it. 100th episode is over. Don't forget, we'll be back next week. And also, don't forget, click subscribe. You know what? I've told you this about 100 times now. Do all of those things. And between now and next week, days will pass. The moon will be in the sky, followed by the sun. And until then, thank you very much and good night. And don't forget to click the link to the Etsy store in the banner. This week, because it's 100th episode, we've got 0 discount on everything in the shop. So get there now.